Our next speaker will talk about fostering more transparency in government to sustain economic development. Her core competencies include legal, finance, audit, governance, and administration, acquired from 32 years of professional work in the Philippines, in the United States, in the People's Republic of China, and the Kyrgyz Republic. Wala pa pong BCBP sa Kyrgyz Republic. Kaya yung mga taga-Masbate natin, kaya ninyo ito. Our speaker just planed in from the United States at pinagpalit niya ang malamig na panahon doon dito sa mainit na hindi panahon, kung hindi mainit na pagtanggap at pagbati ng BCBP. Brothers and sisters, please welcome an educator, a lawyer, and an accountant, the former chairperson of the Commission on Audit, Maria Gracia Pulido Tan. Palakpakan po natin siya.
Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat, lalong-lalo na po kay Chairman Roy Calleja, National President ng BCBP, si President Joey Avellana, members of the BCBP, of course, our secretaries here, whom I have been very delighted to see in this forum, Secretary Rene Almendras, Secretary Babe Singson, and I think I saw Secretary June Abaya over there. Maraming salamat po, my BCBP brothers and sisters, for inviting me to your breakfast and business forum today. At congratulations for 35 years of exemplary and faithful service to the Lord. I am very honored to be here, and I thank our good Lord for making it possible finally. I owe this especially to my very dear friends, Bobby and Marita Lavinia, who have long been asking me to share, and to Rico and Elsa Santos, Art and Lali, all of whom were my first MWG mates in Ligaya ng Panginoon. They have been true friends of more than 20 years who know me and my husband Nonoy inside and out, and who have shown us the face of God in many countless ways. You have asked me to share my insights as a former public servant on how BCBP can be an effective agent in its chosen field of mission, specifically on how it can foster more transparency in government to sustain economic development. First things first, ano po ba ang transparency? I find Transparency International's definition the simplest and most straightforward. Ito rin po yung ginamit kanina ni Professor Mendoza to define corruption, no? Yung pamantayan ng Transparency International. Kasi napakadaling intindihin. Ano po ang transparency? It is openness in the clear disclosure of information, rules, plans, processes, and actions. Again, hindi lang pong sinasabi na ito ay dapat lamang sa public sector, but it is silent, so it goes everywhere. As the word itself suggests, it is being see-through. What you see is what you get. Walang mga hidden agenda, walang double talk or duplicity in character. The bottom line, brothers and sisters, transparency is integrity or oneness of what we say and what we do. Hindi pwedeng iba yung sinabi natin doon sa ating gawa. The Constitution requires that the state, meaning our government, adopt and implement a policy of full public disclosure of all its transactions involving public interest. That the right of the people to information on matters of public concern be recognized, and that access to official records, documents, and papers pertaining to official acts, transactions, or decisions, as well as government research data used as basis for policy development, be afforded to citizens. Pasensya na po kayo, I came home with a cold. Masyadong malamig sa amin sa New York, tas biglang ang init po dito sa inyo sa Pilipinas. These rights, however, are subject to such limitations as may be provided by law. Kaya naman po, hanggang ngayon, we have the continuing clamor for the passage of the Freedom of Information Bill. Kasi hindi po ito mga self-executing na guarantees ng ating Constitution. In my time at the Commission on Audit, I looked at fostering transparency as a core responsibility, a continuous everyday undertaking because it is the cornerstone of public accountability. I regarded my position in the institution as the main instrument of the people in gaining access to the labyrinthian maze of public spending. Accordingly, I devoted extraordinary time, attention, and diligence to capacitate our workforce in the COA and our internal organization structures for this great responsibility. My philosophy was simple. For us, meaning the Commission on Audit, to credibly and effectively call others to account, we must first and foremost be credible ourselves. Nagsisimula po sa ating mga sarili. We must have the requisite moral ascendancy to take to task anyone in government who is not a faithful steward of the people's money. It is pretty much the Lord's admonition of casting out the beam from our eyes before casting out the mote from our brother's eyes. In plain language, we cannot and we should not be hypocrites or be double-faced if we are to effectively foster transparency. On the contrary, we should be firstly independent from the shackles of political patronage and pressure and make personal and professional integrity a way of life. So ano po ang ginawa namin? We cleansed our ranks by persuasion and disciplinary action. I took every opportunity to exhort our workers at the COA to abide by ethical conduct, especially given that our work is imbued with the highest degree of the people's trust, for which we are accountable not only to country, but to God. And I endeavored to give flesh to my rhetoric with my own hard work, integrity, and yes, transparency. What they saw was what they got. Taray and all. We made our own ranks accountable for their lapses and outright misconduct, and imposed corresponding disciplinary action firmly and consistently, not so much to penalize as to break the culture of impunity and weed out the mantay sa lakays. I was so amused to find during their despedida for me that administrative investigations was among the top 5 things they will most remember me for. It must have made such an impact, and I hope that more than the remembering, lessons have been learned, especially that there is always a time of reckoning. We broke loose from the culture of political patronage, pakikisama at utang na loob for self-aggrandizement, mainly by establishing an open and merit-based system for hiring and promotion. In the process, we were able to discover gems of public servants among the workforce long denied their rightful recognition kasi walang connection. We entrusted them with gritty, delicate work and brought them up the ladder. Many of them are now in management positions, and I hope that they will pay forward, as it were, by according the same opportunities to their deserving subordinates. And how did we break patronage? By transparency and a firm resolve to carry it out. Sabi ko po sa mga tiga-COA from day one, point blank, that they should not rely on endorsements from politicians or their bosses, but rather trust their capabilities and qualifications and stand on their merits. Sabi ko, if you are going to use a padrino, I will count it against you. At kahit na pwede kang ipipromote dahil gumamit ka ng padrino, hindi ka mapopromote. At pinanindigan ko po yan. Ang palagi kong tanong sa kanila, bakit? Mas alam ba nila ang inyong kakayahan kesa sa atin mismo dito sa COA na araw-araw magkakasama? At bakit kayo ang hinihingi? Bakit kayo ang pinipili? Diba? Parang, hello. I did not read so-called endorsement letters, but simply responded with a standard template na po ito. Thank you for your interest in our so-and-so. Please be assured that he or she will be evaluated in accordance with the rules and procedures on the matter. Maraming salamat po. Yun po ang aking standard letter. Pagkakaalam ko, hindi po nakatanggap si Secretary Almendras, Secretary Abaya, at saka si Secretary Singson. Iwi-witness ko po sa inyo yan. I think in 6 months of my term, the endorsement letters stopped coming. Pwedeng gawin, di ba? Many of you would perhaps remember the many times I faced on national TV at that, an angry or spurned politician because I did not accede to his endorsement or special request. O dili kaya ay ino-audit namin ang paggastos niya ng pera ng bayan. Many times, kwento ni Secretary Almendras yung mga dinaanan niya, ako hindi ko na lang po inintindi. Many times, I had to contend with scurrilous anonymous letters and outright black propaganda. But I stood my ground even at the risk of my own security and well-being. Sa totoo lang po, hindi ko alam kung papaano ko nakaya lahat ang mga yon at kung bakit andito pa po ako nakatayo, buhay na humaharap sa inyo, nagkukwento, nagwi-witness, nagte-testify. All I know is that I simply drew strength from God's providence and reminded myself every time na ako po ay ginawa ng Diyos to live by His standards and not by the standards of men. Na ako ay dinala niya sa COA dahil meron siyang gustong gawin ko na naaayon lamang sa kalooban niya. Secretary Almendras, I think, cited Deuteronomy for this quote. In respect of audit coverage and subject, we courageously took on what were previously taboo or perhaps deemed too hot to handle, and reopened transactions that may have escaped meticulous scrutiny, whether innocently or intentionally. And we made sure that our people were accordingly informed of our work by religiously posting our audit reports on our website and engaging with media on high-profile cases. Sabi ko po, engaging with media. Hindi po engaging media. Ha? We went out of our way to inform our people kung ano po ang mga pangyayari para hindi lang po sila mag-rely doon sa madalas ay distorted na kwento paglabas sa dyaryo. I am truly humbled that during my term, the country came to know the Commission on Audit mainly through its hard and biting work. More significantly, the citizenry came to know and palpably felt a truly independent Commission on Audit, a commission that did not buckle on its knees, unfazed and resolute, even in the face of arrogant power. not blinded by money or position, nor intimidated by anyone. Its only shield being the truth and faithful performance of its duties. There is really no rocket science to it, nor a need for an array of dazzling postgraduate degrees and specialized training. We simply acted because it was the right thing to do, with unwavering determination to be faithful to our constitutional mandate, with steely nerves and political will, by going out of our comfort zones and rising above our parochial concerns to attain the greater good of the institution and the public we have sworn to serve. By sincere and deep love of God and country, para sa Diyos at bayan, I would often say, hindi pang pogi points o pang e-epal lamang. And in everything, brothers and sisters, loads and loads of prayers for strength, wisdom, divine guidance and protection, mercy and grace. Ito bang mga ito sa COA ko natutunan? Para ang yabang-yabang ko naman ho kung sasabihin kong hindi. Pero totoo yun. Kinamulatan ko na at dinala ko po sa COA. Kinamulatan na po nating lahat, we who have willingly embraced a life of discipleship and servant leadership through our respective Catholic communities. At sana, dalhin natin wherever God sends us. Huwag iwan sa action group, huwag iwan sa breakfast forum, huwag iwan sa SMX, dalhin sa bawat sulok ng ating impluensya. Brothers and sisters, in the final analysis, it is all about mindfully living out on a daily basis the teachings of our Catholic faith. Ang natutunan ko sa COA ay ito, that it works and that God is truly a faithful and victorious God. He pulled us through and allowed us to make a difference. The better news, brothers and sisters, is that where we are right now, where you and I are right now, we can make a difference. We do not have to be inside government to foster transparency and accountability, because each of us is called to be an instrument of transparency in our own right, within our areas of influence. Remember the prayer of Jabez, here and now. And being renewed Christians, we are best positioned for this mission through the many personas we wear every day as family members, businessmen and professionals, ordinary citizens, and yes, members of BCBP. The key element is to walk or talk, bravely, boldly. We may proclaim to the world in the loudest voice and with great pomposity that we are Christians, believers in Jesus, do-gooders. But if we do not match this with our actions and deeds, we are not as we claim we are. Kailangan din po na mahal natin ang ating bayan and its people enough to be able to go out of our comfort zones and do the best we can for its better interests. It means obeying traffic laws and disposing of our garbage properly. You know, the ordinary day-to-day stuff we usually take for granted. It also means exercising our right of suffrage responsibly and judiciously, and demanding a receipt for our purchases. Di bale na pong mas mahal kasi may VAT pag may resibo, di ba? Pero kailangan nating gawin yun. We cannot say we are for God, but we don't obey the laws of our country. We can only get the government we deserve if we give what it takes. It is not fair to demand from government if we ourselves are not willing to give. Let us not forget that we are government because ours is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. As professionals and businessmen, we need to abide by the ethical standards of our trade in carrying out our means of livelihood. Please continue to faithfully live them out, especially when you transact with government, because it is taxpayers' money that is at stake, and that includes yours. Let us God gave us free will. So let us exercise it prudently and in accordance with His teachings. Kanina, sabi ni Professor Mendoza, napakahirap gawin yung ating gustong gawin, what we have committed to do. Because talo talaga tayo. No? Maraming beses naririnig natin, wala akong magawa eh. Hindi gagalaw yung negosyo pag hindi ko gawin ito eh. I think it is such a great disservice to the Lord to say na wala akong magagawa. Binigyan nga niya tayo ng free will eh. Para tayong dumisisyon. And so, we just need to be able to seek Him at every turn. Ano ba ang dapat nating gawin dito? Let us also generously share our expertise for nation building and speak up, take a stand. For our special audit of the Makati Car Park building, which was commenced before my term expired, practically no engineer from the private sector wanted to help us. Understandably so. Again, because of the bottom line, the safety zone that must be protected from the aggravation of something as sticky as incurring the ire or displeasure of powers that be. We love talking about social corporate responsibility, but it is not simply about providing funds for popular socio-civic causes. It means exactly what it says, a responsibility, a burden, if you will. Let us open ourselves also to social entrepreneurship. Invest in businesses that will promote human dignity and provide a better life, especially to the helpless and defenseless, by reason of sheer poverty, lack of access to quality education, and being caught in the torrents of political adventurism. In the words of Pope Francis and our beloved Cardinal Tagle, let us go to the peripheries. Invest in education, I think like Chairman Del Rosario and his group. Health, livelihood, affordable housing, agriculture, underserved areas, but where there is most need. Remember the WWJD, what would Jesus do era, when we would ask this question to guide us in making decisions or taking a Christian approach to sticky situations. It is certainly a very sobering guide, but also quite esoteric sometimes. Let me suggest an alternative instead. Go back to basics, the 10 Commandments. Mas madali ho kasi yung nakalista na eh. Then go through a checklist, di ba? Kasi what would Jesus do? Nag-philosophize pa tayo kung minsan. Kaya ang dali nating makalusot. Kasi somehow we justify ourselves. But when you look at the 10 Commandments, and that is infallible, etched in stone, may do's and don'ts, palagay ko, mas magaguide tayo. Let me just go through them a little bit. Do I have time? Sabi ng Diyos, ang utos ng Diyos, Thou shalt not have any other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. But sometimes, we make gods of being sikat, of being rich, of having power, material comfort, and other worldly pressures. Remember, they will all pass away. We should desire instead the power that makes us understand that we have nothing and are but stewards of whatever material things the good Lord places in our hands, for which we shall be fully accountable to Him. We should desire fame that comes from being last, not from being first. We should desire wealth that consists of the annoyances and inconveniences of putting God and country above self. We should desire poverty of the spirit the kind that makes us fully dependent on God's grace and providence to lead wisely, to be remembered with gratitude and honor, and to be rich in the eyes of God. Ano pa ang sabi ng Diyos? Keep the Sabbath holy. Pero wala na tayong sinasantong araw o panahon ngayon. We are always in a rush to be busy. Even in our quiet time, we think of our other gods. We forget to pray and to be grateful for our blessings. We forget to ask God, ano po ba ang gusto niyong gawin ko? Anong landas ang gusto niyong tahakin ko? Ang utos ng Diyos, honor thy father and thy mother, but sometimes we shame them with our conduct. Sabi ng Diyos, thou shalt not kill. And we do not kill by lethal weapons alone. We also do whenever we abet corruption in government because this takes away from basic services to the poor. Thou shalt not commit adultery. This springs from the capital sin of lust. Tama ba, Father Herb? From which also springs the inordinate desire to gain power and riches at whatever cost. So hindi po natin pwedeng sabihin maging kampante, hindi naman ako nang bababae, wala naman akong bisong ganyan. Pareho po yung pinanggagalingan yan. Thou shalt not steal. Loud and clear, may ililiwanag pa po ba ito? Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Pero mas madali pong magturo at gumawa ng kwento, hindi po ba? Kuminsan naman. Thou shalt not covet. But we're always keeping up with our neighbors, with the Jonases, even if we cannot afford it with legitimate means. Let me end with what I believe to be our biggest charge and challenge: responsible parenthood. If we succeed, it is also our greatest contribution to fostering and sustaining transparency in government. Sa bahay po lahat nag-uumpisa ang mga ito. The home where we learn our first lessons in transparency. No hidden or selfish agenda. We have to play by the rules. We have to be fair and square. We have to respect boundaries. We learn the reality of God and eternal life. A home where every member is valued and enabled to develop into the person that God created him or her to be is the basic unit of society and government. And it is also the best guarantee to a responsible, responsive, and honest government, because the children, the pamangkins, the apos that we are raising today are definitely going to be the government of tomorrow. Sabi nga ng Diyos, train your child in the way he should go, and he shall not depart from it even when he is old. If we teach and train them now in the ways of integrity, of living simply, of compassion for the poor and less fortunate, of taking a stand, taking responsibility for their actions, of being fair and just in their dealings, of being good and civic-minded citizens, imagine what the near future will hold for us. Thank you for this privilege of sharing my 2 cents worth, brothers and sisters. May it have been worth your time. God bless us and our country.